Recorded on the 6th of March 2016 in New Seville, Queensland, Australia.
Okay. Well, now we come to the Q&A on the subject we just discussed, which is how and why I remain unloving. So let's get started. Pat, would you like to start?
I'm trying to get hold of that choice point.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel a large part of my will is moving toward fear of being unloving.
Yeah.
There's a tiny bit
Yeah.
that moving toward loving.
When you say fear of being unloving...
No, toward fear
Toward
toward being unloving.
Oh, right. Yeah, gotcha.
I think, to me, the choice to go to fear is unloving. The choice to go to love or truth is loving.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know that I've used my willpower for 65 years to push down feelings.
Mm-hmm. Which we'll talk about more in a few days' time as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and somewhere in the first assistance group, when we talked about willpower, maybe I need to wait for this.
Yeah.
But it was, as though willpower wasn't a good thing. But isn't there a way it can be used here? That I can use willpower to choose love?
Well, you see, the choices, this is the conundrum many of you are in, right? The choices are made within your soul.
Yeah.
And they govern your behaviour and actions. They govern what you decide to do in your mind. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. So, as I've always said to you, the mind is like a tool that the soul uses based on the soul's choices. Now, for the majority of you, the soul is choosing to avoid emotion. That's the choice made at the soul level. You follow me? So, in fact, the choice we're making at the soul level collectively is we're choosing to avoid faith, avoid truth, and avoid action, and avoid emotion. Those four things that we've talked about just in our previous discussion, right? Now, if that's a choice that is being made at the soul level, for whatever reasons the soul has for making those choices, can you see that the mind either doing the willpower thing and trying to overcome the will of the soul is not going to work because the choice has already been made in the soul, right? Or the mind will support the choice, which is what's happening for the majority of us. The mind is actually supporting the choice that we're making at the soul level. Do you follow me? So, and when I say supporting it, the soul says, avoid, avoid, avoid. And the mind goes, okay, just tell myself a lie. That's way of avoiding. Do you follow? And so you tell yourself a lie, so you get to avoid something. Or the soul says, avoid, 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 and you go, oh, just justify the fact that it's done, you just did that. And that's a great way of, again, supporting the avoidance of these particular things. So the big issue, and this is the thing that we're discussing with you, and obviously it's going to be a 6-day discussion, so there's more to present to you about these particular issues. But the big problem is what's happening at the soul level. What's happening in your emotional state. That's the things that are driving your choices and decisions. So everything we've talked about the last day and a half is all about the choices you're making at your emotional level, not the intellectual level. Many of you believe you're not making those choices even intellectually, but you are still engaging them emotionally. So you're still making the same choices. So the question then becomes, well, how do I shift my soul from a state of avoiding dealing with emotions, avoiding faith, avoiding truth, avoiding taking action? How do I shift my soul from that particular state? Right? And the very first step is to actually see that we want to be in that state. That's the very first step. And that's why we've raised this issue with you, right? So we need to come to see that actually I want to stay in this state of avoidance. Now, as we saw yesterday, we have many belief systems that have been encouraged from our childhood onwards that cause us to believe that there's good reasons for wanting to stay in this state of avoidance. And obviously, we need to address some of these belief systems. So yesterday's conversation was all about the belief systems about love, in particular the belief systems about God's love and God that I need to start working on. I need to see that I have them. I need to see that actually the way I view God is much worse than I thought I viewed God, right? And that's what's causing me to think that self-reliance is best, that I'm better to stay in the state I'm in than I am to change anything. That's a major motivator, right? Because we're avoiding these emotions. So these emotions about God are driving us. Now then we discovered, they're not emotions about God, right? Because God never treated us that way. So they're actually emotions about the family of origin. And so my avoidance of feeling emotion at about the family of origin, the events that happened in my childhood, my choice to avoid that is actually causing all these beliefs about God and causing all these beliefs about love. So can you see that one of the best things I could choose to do is to feel emotion about my family of origin? This is what the majority of you are avoiding. You're avoiding that process. If you just allowed yourself to surrender to many of these emotions and many of the events that have happened in your childhood and allowed yourself just to grieve them and work your way through them, then the process of change would be already naturally occurring, right? But we don't want to. We don't want to do that. This is a choice we're making at the soul level. And that choice at the soul level has to change. Now, how do you change a choice? By educating yourself about what is right and what is wrong, about educating yourself with the truth, right? So this is why the truth becomes a very important part of the process of you discovering your emotions. You need to come to actually honour the truth in your life. And that, again, is a choice within the soul. It's a choice that needs to happen there. Now, how do you educate yourself to make that choice? How do you naturally make that choice? You educate your soul to understand the benefits of choosing truth over the pain and suffering of choosing lies, right? And this is why we've got to have further discussions about those particular subjects. Because we need at some point to educate our soul to make a different choice, and our soul is making the choice that it's currently making because it believes that avoidance is the best course of action. And we are denying a whole heap of things. We're denying pain, we're denying suffering, we're denying all of these things as if we've chosen them. We're acting as if we didn't choose them. We're acting as if that some other responsibility is somewhere else, even God's responsibility. You know, God didn't create us perfect. That's one of our justifications that these things are happening. The reality is we're doing all of that because we want to avoid the process of seeing the cause and effect relationship between choice and outcome. Choice, outcome, choice, outcome, decision, outcome, decision, outcome. So one of the best ways to change the will of the soul is to have a very, very honest self-examination of the choices you've made and the outcome as being the result of the choices you've made. Do you understand? And this is what I feel most people are not doing. Most people are thinking that, we'll have an accident. It was because that person was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and because that person chose to do this and that person chose to do that, and I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time too. But there's no asking, why was I in the wrong place at the right time? What was going on for me? What inside of me created these particular things? We don't see the relationship between cause and effect. We are actually removing ourselves from the relationship of cause and effect. And this is the biggest issue, one of the big issues we face. To convince our soul to make a different choice, we need to face up to some basic truths. And one is the truth of cause and effect, for example, that everything that happens to us, which is the effect, has a cause which led to that effect.